The rules about money are not about being polite. They are about deciding who stays in the room. A man walks into a dinner at a private house in a wealthy neighborhood. The table seats 12. The wine is already poured. Halfway through the meal, he mentions the price of something. Not boasting, just observing. The table goes quiet. Not dramatically, just quiet. He is not invited back. He assumes he made a social mistake. He said something awkward. He reads it as a failure of manners, and he apologizes to himself, and he moves on. But that is the wrong reading. What happened at that table was not an etiquette violation. It was a filter activating. Wealthy social circles run on a specific kind of silence. Prices are not discussed. Salaries are not compared. Direct questions about income are avoided entirely. Most people assume this is discretion or modesty, but it is neither of those things. The silence protects something. It protects an information gap that gives positional advantage to the people who already have it. When you do not know what something costs, you cannot accurately compare your position to someone else's. That gap is not accidental. It is maintained deliberately. And the rules exist to maintain it. Think about what happens when a price is spoken aloud. A number enters the conversation. That number can be compared. It can reveal who earns more and who earns less. It collapses a distance that wealth depends on keeping open. The silence is not modest. It is strategic. And everyone in that room learned the rule before they were old enough to name it. A woman starts a new job at a financial firm. She asks a colleague what the salary band is for her role. The colleague looks uncomfortable and changes the subject. She asks again, more directly, at a team lunch. Later, someone tells her quietly that you do not ask that here. She is excluded from the next round of informal meetings, not fired, just quietly moved to the edge. She reads it as a personality clash. She blames herself. But the rule she broke was not about rudeness. The rule she broke was, do not expose what people have decided to keep invisible. These rules function as a test, not a conscious one. Nobody sits down and decides to run a filter, but the filter runs anyway. When someone asks the wrong question, or names a number, or compares salaries openly, they signal something. They signal that they learned money differently, that they grew up in a place where prices were discussed because they had to be. That signal is read immediately. It tells the room where you came from. The people already in that room did not learn silence from a book. They absorbed it at family dinners, at school, in houses where no one mentioned rent, in places where money was never a worry. The silence came packaged with belonging, long before they knew what belonging meant. That is what makes the filter so effective. It does not test knowledge. It tests exposure, and exposure cannot be faked. People who grew up with money learned early that you do not talk about it, not because it is shameful, because talking about it levels a playing field that benefits them unleveled. The silence is a habit that was taught, but it was taught for a reason. And because it was learned early, it feels like instinct. It feels like taste. It feels like just knowing how things are done. That feeling is the whole point. When a rule feels like instinct, no one has to enforce it. The person who breaks it enforces it for you. They feel the discomfort. They correct themselves. They go quiet. And the room continues. Beyond silence, there are rituals. Who pays and how? Whether a price is acknowledged or simply absorbed. How you receive a gift without mentioning what it cost. Whether you ask about a neighborhood's property values or simply let the conversation move on. Each of these moments is a small test. None of them feel like tests. That is what makes them work. They identify who belongs, not who is invited. Who belongs. Being invited is not the same thing as belonging. Invitations can be extended to anyone. Belonging is reserved for people who already hold the codes. Two people attend the same charity event. One grew up in that world. The other worked hard to get there. They are wearing similar clothes. They are both well-spoken. But one of them asks about the value of the auction lot. The other does not. That question is the tell. It marks the person who is visiting and the person who lives there. The person who asked is not wrong. They are just visible. And visibility, in this context, is the same as exclusion. This is why the rules cannot be learned by reading about them. By the time you know the rule well enough to name it, you have already broken it. The knowledge arrives too late. It comes after the quiet room, after the missed invitation, after the phone that does not ring. The rules were never designed to teach. They were designed to filter. And filtering works best when the people being filtered do not know they are being tested. The manners are real, the etiquette is real, but they are not the point. They are the surface. Underneath, there is a simpler mechanism. Wealth uses silence to hold a door closed, and the way you talk about money tells everyone in the room which side of that door you grew up on. Want to see the hidden rules shaping money, power, and human behavior? Subscribe to Unseen Forces.